Do you think people other than us in this sex comm class have ever really stopped to think how important sex education truly is for youth in America and all over the world, really? According to the Department of Nursing at the University of Southern California, only 13 states require sex education to be medically accurate. How? While the school systems probably think they have laid enough groundwork for young adults regarding sex, which is insane to even think about, they definitely have not. One of the biggest things I think we need to start with is inclusive sex ed, talking about gender and sexual orientation and how they're so personal and they ebb and flow throughout our lifetime. How to engage in safer sex without just throwing a condom at these students, like actually teaching them. And lastly, we need to continue to push the idea of consent. Gender and sexual orientation is a great place to begin our reforming of sex education in schools for young adults. We've all seen all these bills that are trying to be passed and how incredibly harmful they are to the LGBTQIA plus community. We've seen people get rejected for wanting to live their lives as who they are. We must teach younger generations to be more understanding and accepting. This particular unit in this proposed idea is so important to keep these individuals feeling safe and respected. According to Fraser Health, this type of thing starts as simple as using inclusive language, like how is everyone instead of how are you boys and girls. It's as simple as discussing sexual preferences, fluidity within that, gender fluidity. Sharing experiences that people may have had go a long way with students who are trying to figure themselves out. These stories can mean a lot to people, and we need to stop pretending that implementing these things in schools is going to do more harm than good. Secondly, I think we need to talk about safe sex. While I think most curriculums teach the idea of safe sex, shouldn't it go deeper than that? One of the main things I learned in my sex comm classes, there's no such thing as safe sex. It's just safer sex. Isn't that an important tidbit to learn? Don't you think we should be teaching young girls about birth control and how there are so many different kinds of it, and that they're not always effective and that they don't always work for all of us? Aren't these things that we should be teaching these young adults? Teaching these individuals that being able to communicate with your partner or partners is crucial to having safe sex. It's not just about the condom or whatever kind of protection you are choosing to use. According to Planned Parenthood, talking to your partners about unplanned pregnancy as well as STIs is one of the best things you can do to keep yourself safe. If these children are more knowledgeable about great things like Planned Parenthood and all the different kinds of STIs you can get, don't you think we will begin to see a decline in teenage pregnancy as well as potential STIs? Lastly, going off the back of safe sex, one of the most important things that we really need to hunker down on and have a clear idea of is consent. Without consent of any kind, any sexual act should not be being conducted. We need to learn that consent is about respecting one another's boundaries, and that if you don't hear the word yes, you did not get consent. While I believe consent is something that we need to approach at all levels of our lives, teaching students at all levels of our lives boundaries in more ways than just in the bedroom, you can learn about consent as early as elementary school, but obviously in different ways than you would for someone in high school. We should talk about consent with alcohol use. We should also talk about consent in relationships. Just because you're in a long-term relationship with someone does not give you the right to have sex with them whenever you please. If you don't get a yes, it's still sexual assault. A survey conducted at the University of Chicago in 2015 asked about 2,012 adults aged 18 to 29 across the U.S. what they thought consent meant. This survey found that there was little to no consensus about what consent looks like, and that is concerning. After briefly discussing some incredibly important topics that need to have more awareness to them in our sex education classes throughout America, I think it's clear that they need some work. That what's going on right now, it just simply isn't enough.